Central Pennsylvania and Eating Disorders by Sally Ballantine.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally Ballantine and welcome to my Springboard presentation. It is a combination of two topics that at first glance will seem quite random, but they are the significance of Central Pennsylvania meals and my own personal journey with an eating disorder called anorexia nervosa. Now, you all may be wondering, what do the mills of Central Pennsylvania and an eating disorder have in common? If you're not sure, you're not alone. I did not intend for these two topics to be my senior Springboard project, and I didn't intend for them to be together at all. I think that this is part of life, separate events occurring randomly together. There are some things that we are in control of and other things that are just way out of our control. We often start on one journey only to find ourselves on a much different path. With that in mind, here is the backdrop for my project. Like the rest of my class, I entered my fall term of my senior year during a totally abnormal, wacky, and unsettling time, all due to the pandemic. My journey was a little bit more complicated for a couple of reasons. This past summer, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa. It's an eating disorder that my family and I only had a vague understanding of. And in hindsight, we now realize that we had no idea what this would mean for my education or myself or family at all. I knew I had a tricky relationship with food and body image, but I also knew it was my senior year, and I really felt like I should be at school, embracing everything that senior year had to offer. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew that, but I also knew I had the support of my family and therapists and nutritionists, and also the Mercersburg community. I thought I could go to class and have virtual weekly therapy sessions, and I would be okay. I was very, very hopeful. When I entered my senior year, I was already in a fragile place due to this. I didn't realize that I was also about to lose my best friend to cancer. Her name was Lily Jordan. As she had explained, she knew that she was not going to live and she was waiting to die, and it felt like she was on a train track. She knew the train was coming around the corner, but she didn't quite know when it was going to happen. Fall term began, and in my comm arts class, we started with a simple project, and we were instructed to create a conceptual self-portrait. I decided that I was going to do a collage with pictures of myself. My assignment was given, and the project seemed simple enough. Then I learned my friend passed away, and that was followed by me going on medical leave from Mercersburg Academy. And now for my project. The significance of Central Pennsylvania Mills and my own personal journey with an eating disorder called anorexia nervosa. I will start with my eating disorder. The pictures I am about to show are my self-portraits. As I mentioned, I had just learned of my friend passing away. I was incredibly sad. I was at school feeling alone, the photos were taken, and then the next day, my family and healthcare providers made the decision that I should be pulled from school and placed on medical leave. Although I had advocated for getting help during the summer, my family and I didn't realize the extent of the help that I needed. I had gotten to school and I was struggling with eating and reeling from the news of my friend passing away. Just like that, my senior year had abruptly been altered, and I went from dorm life to sitting in my room, looking at a computer and being part of virtual therapy with other people just like me. My life was now a deep dive into why I was struggling and not eating. My whole life revolved around therapy and my self-portrait project.
Here is the first picture for my self-portrait project. You can see that I was hiding. It is a more monochrome piece. I was definitely not in a good place, and these images represent this very turbulent and challenging period of my life. I knew I needed help. In this stage, I was not advocating for myself or feeling seen or heard. I was really sick, but the butterflies represent my desire for freedom and change. The next collage represents the start of my recovery. There are more colors and it is more vibrant. When you're in recovery, you start to take care of yourself and nourish your body. The seeds on my body showed the growth process that was starting to take place. My stomach was always an area of insecurity and concern for me, but I was feeding myself and I was growing. In the next picture, the seeds were starting to sprout. They were no longer just seeds, they were flowers. Therapy was beginning to take hold. I started to feel better about myself. I began to understand why I had been controlling my food and restricting. Many people assume eating disorders are because of the food, or it's just the eating, but it is never just about the food. For me, it was a way to feel in control when areas of my life were out of control. I didn't have the need to control as much. I was learning how to properly cope. In the last collage, you can see the most chaos in colors and textures. This one represents the essence of who I am and how I gained that back after months of treatment. You can see that my stomach is now covered in flowers, and the flowers and textures surround me. I finally felt free enough, even though my recovery is not complete, my hard work has paid off, and I am able to live a full life. This was meant to become my final project, but towards the end, I felt drawn to something that didn't revolve around me and honestly didn't have anything to do with me. And now, the second piece of my project, the mills. When I had breaks from therapy, I had the opportunity to spend more time with my family, and we were able to go on hikes and explore where we live. We have always loved hiking, which is perfect because it seems like the ideal activity to do during a pandemic. Above you can see my dog Buckley enjoying one of our hikes. I live in central Pennsylvania, and on our drives and walks, we would often stumble upon mills. I was intrigued. They are often beautiful structures next to idyllic settings. Central Pennsylvania is filled with rolling hills, streams, farmland, barns, and these old mills. Glimpses of the past, some preserved in time, others delegated, but they all tell a story. Central Pennsylvania also has an abundant freshwater system, and springs are the source for rivers and creeks. Springs offers consistent water flow throughout the year, so without the threat of drought, it was a safe bet for farmers to invest in this area. Along with the farm, the mills were also built in the 1700s to 1800s, and in present times they were surrounded by new buildings or have new purposes such as houses or museums. Mills use hydropower to produce goods such as corn and flour. These structures are often simple and understated yet beautiful. What drew me to them was the sturdiness of the mills. With my life sometimes in turbulence and with feelings of spiraling out of control, I found myself comforted by their permanence. Structures that were here before I was born and will last long after I am gone. This is the Glen Allen Mill. It was built in 1830s. In 1830. It is actually right down the street from my house, and it is powered by the Yellow Breeches. As you can see, it is a very beautiful mill. It is 2.5 stories high, and it is along the Yellow Breeches. It is now a part of a house. Across the street, you can find the former housing for the workers at the mill. The land has actually been developed for farming since the 1760s. This is the Boiling Springs Grits Mill. It is now an apartment building. Built in 1785, and it's also powered by the Yellow Breeches. It looks over Children's Lake and is surrounded by people enjoying the outdoors by fishing or going on walks with their dogs or playing with their children. I love the geese in this picture, and it's just a very beautiful mill. This is Barnett's Mill. It was built in 1768, and it was partially restored. You can see all the beautiful textures in it. Sadly, this mill is a little bit dilapidated, and many of the locals are upset that it sits behind a chain link fence and it's just falling apart even though they got the funding to restore it. As you can see, a lot of the windows are now boarded up and a lot of them are falling apart. It's really overgrown and it's just not well taken care of. This is Al's Warehouse. It was built in 1867. It was more used for grain storage, but now it's a restaurant along a busy highway. You can really see how when the mills were built, the land was much different. This is the Good Hope Mill. It was built by Jonas and Elizabeth Rupp in 1821. It is a beautiful mill that is sadly surrounded by two modern industrial buildings that don't share the same level of beauty in my opinion. But you can see the textures, and it was actually a gift to the community of Cumberland County, and it is along the Connegawinet Creek. It's beautiful, and you can see where there used to be a bell here, and this is the plaque for the gift. So it says "Surprise Cumberland," built by Jonas and Elizabeth Rupp, and it just gives information about it, and that was the plaque for their gift. This is the Willow Mill. It was built in 1795. It is now in a park called Willow Mill Park, and it is used primarily for frisbee golf. It is also on the Connegawinet. You can see I love the arcs here, and I love how the windows have that beautiful gradient of color. It's a very stunning mill. This is the White Horse Mill. It was a lumber mill in 1832. It's now an Amish antique store in Lancaster. It has beautiful red doors and a beautiful stonework. It's definitely a very well maintained mill. Now, this is my favorite mill. It's a Mascot roller mill. It was built in 1779 and it is located between two Amish farms. It's actually now a museum, but you can see the beautiful yellow doors with the green accents and all the beautiful stonework. In this picture, you can see how it almost looks like there's a moat around the complex, and it's just like a very, very stunning background with just beautiful, beautiful architecture. Now this is the Millport Mill. This is along a very busy road, but you can see the addition on the one side that looks like a garage, but the green doors against the reddish orange brick with the little mural with the cows and the chickens, almost an advertisement for the mill. Was built in 1882, and you can see that they still have some Christmas decorations up. Actually, this one is also a museum, and they had cutouts of Elvis Presley in the windows, which was very fun. This is the West Willow Mill. As you can see, it's really starting to fall apart. The roof is all messed up, and it's like there's really no roof left. And then the windows are starting to break and fall apart. But if you look closely, you can see the beautiful wood details on the doors right around here. And you can see how beautiful, and imagine how beautiful it was back in the day. Here's another angle of it. This is the Roe Mill. It has a beautiful wooden, like dark wood frame with the beautiful red doors, and it's located on a field. It's also in Lancaster. It's a very stunning mill.
What I have learned from this project is that it's not about what we do or why we do those things. It's about the journey and the connections and deeper meaning that many times we can't see until later. These random things provide meaning and purpose to our lives. So if there isn't a connection between mills and eating disorders on the surface, if you look closer, you will discover a spider web of connections. Thank you for attending my Springboard presentation.